and welcome to another lawnfawn video. Today we are introducing our new die sets, Oliver's Stitched ABCs and Oliver's Stitched 123s. These letters are so cute and they are the perfect size. Here is a look at them. You can see it has this amazing stitching and the font is so cute, fun, and bold. We of course have all the letters and the numbers as well. They're great on cards, great on scrapbook layouts, and they also work with our hello pop-up and happy birthday pop-up, which we'll be showing you in a future video. In this video, we're going to be showing you some fun and cool ways to incorporate these onto your cards. And we're going to start off first by creating a background with the new cloudy stencil. And we're going to be using mermaid ink, Minty Fresh ink, and fresh lavender ink to create this really cool magical sky. And right now, I'm recreating a card by Yanea that just blew me away, and I loved how she did this, so thank you so much, Yanea. So we're going to build up a little bit of that mermaid color, and then we're going to be switching to that really light lavender color. And the mix of these two colors looks magical. It almost reminds me of kind of like what a bubble looks when you blow a bubble in the air. It kind of has that purpley, bluey color. And so I really love this mix of colors, something I wouldn't have thought to do on my own, and it's so adorable. So now that we've created our first cloud, we're going to take our stencil and twist it and shift it and kind of find the right next clouds that would look good. Once we have them in good placement, we're going to kind of shift them over, hold it in place, and start adding color again. For this cloud, you can see I left all the color on the stencil, so the mermaid ink is picking up some of the purple and creating a totally different color palette. Now for this next cloud here, we're using a different area of the stencil that didn't have any ink on it yet. Now for our next cloud section that we're going to do, I took a dry paper towel and just wiped off any of the excess ink because I wanted to go back to that original color palette. So we're going back and forth, and the mixing of all the colors together is what makes this look so pretty and so magical. After we create our last cloud section, we're just going to fill in the rest of our card front here with some of the ink at the bottom. And so I would love to hear what kind of color combinations that you want to try for clouds. I really loved combining those colors and then also letting them mix on the stencil to make an entirely new color as well. So here's a standard size card base at 5.5 by 4.25, and we're going to layer that panel that we just created right on top. For this card, we're going to be working with the Oliver Stitched ABCs and also the really high five stamp set. So these little guys are so cute. And I loved the way that Yanea did this card because she used the sentiment in a vertical way. And she was able to do that because we had these really cool die cut letters. So here you can see we've stamped, colored, and die cut a bunch of images from Really High Five. And we've die cut the letters out of white cardstock and mermaid cardstock. We're also going to take a piece of Watercolor Wishes pattern paper, which matches that purple really nicely in that cloud background. And we're going to be stamping just the birthday part of the happy birthday. And I had actually cut apart these stamps a while back for a different card, so it's perfect because I could just use the birthday on their own. But of course, if I want to use the happy, I can just line them right back up together. So we're going to use an anti-static powder tool to make sure that our heat embossing powder only sticks to that nice, sticky, clear embossing ink. So we're going to stamp the word birthday and we'll layer some white heat embossing powder on it. And then we can go ahead and heat it with the heat tool. And so in this case, we're going to be doing happy birthday, but the happy part are going to be the die cut letters. And then the birthday is going to be this really awesome stamped sentiment that's been heat embossed. And so we're just going to trim that down to be a nice little rectangle right around the word birthday. To add a little height to our die cut letters, we're going to be layering a white cardstock piece behind a mermaid cardstock piece. And so this is a nice way to give it a little bit of subtle height on your card without having to take out your foam squares or anything like that. So we're just going to layer all of these pieces together using the glue tube, and then we can start to take these letters and layer them onto the card. So I like to put them all out first on my card and kind of see how it's going to line up, make sure the spacing looks good, and then I'll go through and add tape runner to each letter and keep layering them onto the card. And I love the idea of a vertical sentiment like this. I don't think I've ever made a card like this, so it's really fun to recreate this card by Yanea. Now here we're going to add some foam squares to the back of birthday, and then we're going to start to take our characters from Really High Five and place them around in our really pretty purple cloudy sky. In Really High Five, I like to put all of my balloons down first, and then I go through and add my strings. And what was really clever about this card design by Yanea is she made the strings look longer by just trimming them down and then layering them behind the animal. So we just trimmed off a little bit of that piece, and now we're going to layer that behind his tail, and it looks like we have one really long balloon string. So we're going to do the same thing here. We actually just cut the balloon string in half. We're going to put the first half here. So you see I'm going to kind of see where it lines up on the mouse's paw. Just trim that off. I'll save the piece that I trim off. I'll first glue down that piece just using my scissors to kind of shove it behind his little arm there. And then we're going to take the pieces that we trimmed off and layer those behind the mouse. Once again, it shows the rest of that balloon string and it makes it look like that balloon string was even longer than it was before. We'll repeat the same string idea with the balloons on the right side of the card. And I just love the look of these stitched letters because it really makes your sentiment kind of the focal point of the card. And it's just really bold and happy and a fun way to use up cardstock and pattern paper scraps too. So now that we've got all our balloon strings on there, the card is all done. It is so cute. It was really easy to put together and I think it's just gorgeous. Next up, we're going to be recreating a card by Tammy, also using again these awesome Oliver Stitched ABCs and the Dandy Day stamp set. So here we have some Dandy Day paper, and we also have some white cardstock that we're going to be die cutting with an outside-in stitch circle and a scalloped circle frame. We're also going to be die cutting that yellow Dandy Day paper with a stitched rectangle, so that's going to be our card base with a beautiful stitch detail. We're going to layer that pattern paper onto a standard size card base at 5.5 by 4.25, and then we've gone ahead and taken 2 stitch circles. So we have one stitch circle that's kind of a normal size there, and one we've cut in half because we're going to be die cutting that with the Grassy border die. So we'll line that die up on the circle, run it through our die cut machine, and now we'll have a beautiful grass detail. To create our grass and sky, we're going to be using some distress ink here with tumbled glass and broken china and blender brushes, and we're just going to be building up that color on, starting with our lightest color and then moving on to the darker color to add a little bit more interest. And so you'll see we're just going to be building up that color until it looks nice. We don't have to worry about the very bottom of the circle because that's going to be covered up by the grass. And then we can mix and match and go between the two colors to make sure they're nice and blended. And we're going to do the same idea here with Lucky Clover and Twisted Citron. So we're going to have our lighter color at the top in this case and our darker color towards the bottom. And I really love the mix of these two colors. I think it's really pretty. To add some interest, we're going to take those little blades of grass and kind of flick them up with our fingers, and it's going to make them look a little bit 3D. And then we can take some liquid glue from the glue tube and add it to the back of our piece and then layer that onto our sky. And we'll take our stitched scallop circle frame and we'll add some liquid glue to the back of that, and we can layer our sky and grass onto that. And I love the look of a scalloped frame. It's so dainty and I think it's really cute with our awesome little Dandy Day mice. I've added some foam tape to the back of that scene and we're going to layer that onto our card base. Now next we're going to do a little bit of stamping. So we're going to have a mix of stamping, heat embossing, and stitched letters, which I really love. So we're going to stamp the "And I'm Not Lying" sentiment, which is my favorite from Dandy Day, in some black licorice ink. And then we've stamped, colored, and die cut a bunch of the images from Dandy Day, and we're going to be layering those into our card here. And so some of them we're going to layer in front of the grass and some of it behind to add a bunch of dimension. And I love the little mouse flying up in the sky. It's so cute. So we'll layer that mouse on there just like that. And then we can scatter some of those little dandelion pieces in the sky so it looks like he's blowing on that dandelion. Now for our letters this time, we're going to be doing a little bit of a shadow effect by layering die cut letters again. So right here we've die cut the yellow letters out of some of the new shimmer cardstock in the tropical pack, and the gray ones have been cut from our narwhal cardstock. So we're going to be layering 2 gray ones on top of each other, and this is just to give height to our letters. Then we're going to layer a yellow letter on top, but it's going to be slightly offset, and that's going to give that D a bit of a shadow, which is a really cool look to add a lot of just of a dynamic touch to your card. So once again, we're going to repeat the same thing. We're going to stack 2 gray letters, and then we're going to stack our yellow on top, very slightly offset. Once we've finished layering all of those, we can go ahead and add them to the card. And what we've done with this card here, and this is something that Elise from our team loves to do, is take one of the words from our sentiment and change it into die cut letters. And it always looks really cool on a card. So you can take any of your sentiments from your stamp set, pick one of the words in it, switch that one up into some die cut letters, and then stamp everything else around it, and it's the coolest look. So here we've stamped the "I think your part, and we've actually heat embossed that in white on some black cardstock, and that's going to be layered up at the top. So we're going to have this mix of the heat embossing, the stitched letters, and the normal stamping, and I think it's so cool, and I really like the look of that black bold at the top. It kind of goes along with that really cool shadow effect of the letters at the bottom. For the next card, we're going to do something a little bit different, and that's to make the words the main part of our card. And we're going to be doing that with some watercolor paper and these really cool brush markers. And so these markers react with water, so it's similar to Tombow markers or those real color brush pens, but they have a really, really bold color. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our rainbow of markers here, and we're going to be scribbling that onto this stitched rectangle. So we're going to start with our middle color here with the green, and it can be scribbles and messy because we're going to be adding water to it later, and then we're going to build up the rest of our rainbow going down into the corners of the card to create this really cool kind of like diagonal stripe. Once our scribbles are done, we're going to take our paintbrush and dip it in some water to start to blend that out. And here we've gone between the yellow and the orange, and you can see that great gradient that's forming. We're also going to be careful to dip our paintbrush back in the water to clean it off as we mix in between our different colors. And the blend ends up looking absolutely gorgeous, and it's really quick and easy to do. So now we're going to go in a little bit of fast motion here, and we're going to keep blending our colors together. The blue and the green are going to meet, the light blue and the dark blue, and it's looking gorgeous. So we're going to dry that with the heat tool, and once you dry it, you can kind of take a look and see if there's anywhere else you want to add a bit more color. So we wanted a bit of a bolder look, so we scribbled some of the marker on the sheet, added some water, and mix that up, or you can just take your marker and even scribble it right back onto your cardstock. Once again, get the water with your paintbrush and blend those together. And you can keep building up the color until you get to that perfect look. Once we've dried that off, we're going to take some metallic paint here. We're going to take this white color, add some water, and just tap our paintbrush to create cool little white sparkles all over. And now this is rainbow and sparkly, and it makes me so happy. Now that our background is done, we're going to be using our Oliver's Stitched ABCs to create 2 cards from one idea. So you're going to see how that works here. So we're going to take those Oliver's Stitched ABCs, and we're going to be spelling out the word hello. We're going to line up these letters onto that stitched rectangle to get them in perfect placement. Because we don't have 2 L dies, we're just going to use a die cut L as a little placeholder there. We're going to put those guys all in place. Once they're in perfect alignment, we're going to take some tape. You can use some washi tape, and we're going to pick up these letters to keep them in perfect alignment so we can die cut the same thing over and over again. Once those are held together in place with our tape, we can go ahead and start to die cut our background. And we're going to start right in the center of the panel. That way we can kind of move out from the center. So we're going to die cut that. And we're not only going to save our letters that we've die cut, we're also going to save what's left over too. And that's how we're going to get 2 cards out of this. So now that we've got our first hello, we can take that strip of tape that's holding all of our dies in place, line it right back up underneath, and run it through the die cut machine again. We're going to pop out our letters and save those, and once again, still take care to save the background too. And we can keep doing this all the way up and down the card. Once everything's been cut out, we can go back and finish up that last L, and it's going to be nice and easy to line up since we have all of those letters cut out already. So we're just going to hold that L in place with some tape. We'll run it through the die cut machine, and once again take care to save our L and take care to line up everything nicely onto that background. The first thing we're going to do is create a card base with those letters that we've cut from this beautiful rainbow background. And we're actually going to use the background that we cut from as our guide. And there's a couple different ways to do this, and we're going to show you a couple, and then you can pick your favorite. So here we added some foam tape to the back of our H, and we just kind of popped it in like a little puzzle piece, and that's going to put it in perfect placement on your card. And then we'll repeat this with all of our letters. The next way that we're going to do this is we're actually going to just drop our letters in without the foam tape on them to hold them in place. We're going to use that same tape to pick up those letters. Then we can flip this whole thing over and add the tape all at once to all of our letters. Then we can peel up that foam tape there, and then we can add that into the card base, once again using our background there as the guide to get it in perfect placement. Now that we have two of those hellos placed onto the card, we're going to try one more different method. So we're just going to pop that background off because now we've got placement of those, and we're going to use that background off to the side this time. So we're going to drop in our letters again, and this time we're going to pick them up in tape just kind of like we did before, but it's a little bit easier to then glue down the whole thing onto the card front. But the reason we can do this is because we've already used our background as a guide for how to place those other ones. So all those letters are in there. We're going to pick them up with the tape, and then we can flip it over and add our foam tape again. And then we'll attach that onto our card. And we're going to finish up the rest of the card this way. And I love how this is looking because not only are we creating this really cute die cut letter kind of sentiment card, but it's got that awesome rainbow gradient going on as well. So it's just so happy and cool. As we finish attaching our last hello, we're going to take out the reveal wheel circle sentiment set in here. There's these really great sentiments at the bottom that aren't in the circle shape, and that's the sending smiles to brighten your day. So we're going to be using all those little pieces there, and we're going to stamp them onto some black cardstock with some clear embossing ink. And then we'll add some white heat embossing powder and heat those up with our heat tool. And then we're going to use both our scissors and our paper trimmer to trim these down into little strips. So it almost looks like those little Dymo labels. You remember those? And we're going to be layering these onto the card, and I love the look of the rainbow background with the bold black and white sentiment on top. So we're going to be adding these on with some foam tape, and this design is so cute, and this is a recreation of a card by Elise. So thank you so much, Elise, for coming up with this really cool idea. And I love that you could do this with the word love or all sorts of different words. Maybe even someone's name would be a really, really fun way to personalize a card. Now that this beauty is done, we have that whole background that we can create a card from. So we're going to be taking out some of the pixie dust sparkly cardstock, which is so pretty, and we're going to be trimming that down so that it fits behind our whole background. Once we've got that all trimmed down, we can start to layer our piece on top, and we're going to layer that on with some liquid glue. The glue tube is really great for sticking the cardstock to that beautiful glitter paper. So now we're going to have our hello words with that glitter shining through. But of course we need to fill in our O, so we're going to add liquid glue to the center of each of these and add those centers that we saved earlier, which is going to match up perfectly with our rainbow gradient. Next, we'll take out our Scripty Hello die, and we're going to die cut that a bunch of times from some Storm Cloud cardstock. And so that's going to layer the script looking font on top of this block font, which I think is a really nice combination. And once again, we're layering these die cuts to create height, and it's such a great way to make your die cuts feel just a little bit more special. To add a bunch of height, you can actually die cut the back piece from some of that craft foam and layer that behind, and that's a cool way to do it too. So we've added some foam tape to our beautiful glittery background, and then we're going to add some liquid glue to that stacked hello die cut and layer that on top. And now our cards are all done. We've gotten 2 cards out of 1 background, and I love that these cards are totally sentiment focused, which is a really, really fun look. And it's so fun to do cool techniques like scribbling your markers and adding watercolor to them. I just absolutely love this idea. It's so sweet. And now we have some really incredible cards to show you by the design team. And first up, we have this gorgeous card by Megan. It's got an awesome reveal wheel at the top so our little mouse can move back and forth. And I love those letters cut out of white cardstock. It's so bold and gorgeous. Here is the card that by Tammy that inspired us to make our card today, and you can see that beautiful little shadow she's got by layering that gray behind it. Here I love what Audrey did to use the words love bug with that beautiful watercolor background. It's a great match to our cute A Bug Deal stamp set. And here Elena used someone's name to personalize the card. How cute is this? I can't wait to try it. This is the card by Elise that inspired us to make our card today. She used distress inks to create her background for those letters. And this card by Lynette is so cute. I love how she layered the bugs in front of and behind the letters. Here, Tammy combined a bunch of old and new favorites and made this cute sentiment that says, "You make me happy." And here, Shari created some cute home decor by layering these letters onto a wooden house piece she added pattern paper to. I love how Yainea subbed in the word stars to fill in her sentiment in that background. Oh my goodness, that superstar set is just so cute. Here I added some bugs kind of hiding in and behind my letters. These little bugs are the perfect size for the Oliver Stitched ABCs. And here Grace created the most incredible flip and awesome card. As you pull that tab, the little jars flip and there's different scenes with different bugs, and her sentiment is so bold because of Oliver Stitched ABCs. And then here I wanted to show you something really cute by Grace that these letters perfectly fit on our new pop-up happy birthday and pop-up hello, and we'll be showing you that in that intro video, so make sure to check that out. That one's coming up next. So I can't wait to see what you guys are going to create with the Oliver Stitched ABCs and 1, 2, 3, so please share it with us. Thank you so much for watching today, and I hope you have an absolutely amazing day. Bye!